or havenfinancialgroup.com. Ask us some questions. All questions are good questions. I say our job description here at Haven Financial Group is really answering questions. And many of you listeners have had the same questions for days, weeks, months, and maybe years, and you've never asked anybody the question. Whatever it is, let us know. We'd love to assist you in any way possible. This one, Kim, estate planning. I and several of the staff have years of experience in this area. Our estate planning attorneys, though, are Kim, Anna, and Keith. And this one is very important, and there's lots of misconceptions.
Well, I think one of the first things we want to clear up for everyone is that we're not talking about only those who have big, huge estates. We're talking about people who own, just a small amount. Everybody needs an estate plan.
Very true. It's not just for the mega wealthy. How many of us really know they call them trust babies that got multi-millions of dollars of wealth through a trust fund? Now they're out there and more power to them, their family, whoever gave them the legacy. Hey, that's fantastic. However, this is the normal common folk retiree that's worked hard. We see them, many of them on a weekly basis. Oh, I heard that's only for rich people. It could not be further from the truth. Now, not everybody is really going to necessarily need the same thing. I will tell you there's certain documents that everybody should have to some degree. Having a legal will, maybe looking at a revocable trust, maybe looking at a transfer on death deed, documents that one should have, whether you're single or married, healthcare directives, durable powers of attorney for financial, medical records, healthcare. One must understand that we live in a very litigious society. There's no automatics for anything. There really isn't. And I know there might be some listeners listening that are husband and wife or life partners, and you say you've been making decisions for your spouse for 40, 50 years, and if something happens, I'll still be able to make those decisions. That is simply not true. There are no automatics today. Again, having the right legal documents. And that really starts with a no-cost consultation, if it's with us, to really talk through those things. This conversation will be with one of the estate planning attorneys. There is no cost for an initial consultation. If there's documents to be done, like any other areas of retirement, there's 100% full transparency. What would that cost be? Mm-hmm. What would it entail? What does it look like? The attorneys are very educational, just like we are in all of these areas. And if you've been putting it off, this last week had a couple they've had 4 kids that are adults. And they said, I go, you've never had a will in your life? Nope, but we've been talking about it for 40 years. Or others that did it when their kids were minors for guardianship conservatorship, which is another reason you should do it. And now those kids are 30 and their old will says they got to go live with their uncle or something happens. Well, they're adults and they have their own kids. Yeah. And I'll tell you this, what's pretty neat about Kim and the estate planning attorney, she is the principal of the law firm, is every year around graduation time, she'll run a special for those kids that are graduating that turn 18 years old. Because now they're an adult. Yeah. There's certain documentation that should be done to protect the interest of those kids or to protect the interest of the parents if something happens. So who at 18 is thinking about doing this?
Right.
Not many, including me when I was 18, and that wasn't yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Larry, one of the things that I think is a real misconception when it comes to estate planning is people just assume, well, I've been married, and you sort of hit on this, but, I've been married to my wife for 62 years. If I go first, everything will just go to her. It's just that simple. And that's not necessarily the case.
No, it is not necessarily the case. It might be somewhat of the case, but you really want to dot your I's and cross the T's, because in many of these areas, one only has one chance to make it work. It's from the fundamentals of having beneficiaries on all those bank accounts, payable on death perhaps, beneficiaries, primary beneficiaries, and contingent beneficiaries, because life happens, making sure beneficial interest avoids probate. Now, there's different probate rules in different states. Many would say they want to avoid probate. Well, there's no automatic to doing that. Then it may take certain documentation, a transfer on death deed, oftentimes for a property. but talk through those. Our attorneys talk through those, because if you have more than one kid and then they're married, well, then do they all have to agree? Will that happen? Oftentimes, people work so hard during their life to put together whatever they put together: money, investments, jewelry, vehicles, collections, and they don't really pay attention to what happens if they're not here to make these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it break families. I've seen legacy that was intended to go one way, go a different way, just because nothing was done. I mean, I'd have a shout out to one of my clients who came in this past week. And I had a clients that were just leaving. Michael, who was in visiting with one of the attorneys. Recently, his wife went into a nursing home. About a month ago, he brought in a bill for $13,000. They had done no estate planning, Kim. And I came in, I just came out. I said, Michael, how's Kathleen doing? He goes, not good. She passed away. Now, never a good thing. But for number one, she's not in pain anymore. And she's at peace. But he was left not knowing what to do. Now, I'm not blaming anybody. It's not anybody's fault. But it's those situations you don't want to find yourself in, not being able to speak.
Right.
Powers of attorney are necessary. And I'm all about doing it yourself if you're capable. But we're very cautious that when we hear, somebody say, well, I'm going to do all my legal documents by myself. Well, do you have a legal degree? We're in a litigious society. If it doesn't work, you're in trouble. And there's certain legalese that needs to be in these documents. Nothing is free. Don't pay too much, but make sure you're getting what's necessary. Again, whether it's wealth you're trying to transfer, whether it's personal property, whether it's just simply making decisions. The more information, again, this upcoming year, we're going to be giving out to our clients that they'll be able to give to their kids. And I think it's really cool. It's a Haven What Next big binder. What next? And documentation for those kids or grandkids, or even if it's nieces and nephews, whoever is going to benefit.
Sure.
The more information, the better. And so our clients are going to get that What Next book. So when they are gone, there's going to be clearly outlined on what happens next and how we can help them do it.
Well, I love that idea, Larry. That's so smart. And that's frequently at a time, too, when people don't really want to think about those kinds of things. There are so many other things going on in their life, and they're dealing with possibly grief, and they don't want to think about that. So if it's all taken care of and documented, that is so important. Something else you pointed out that I think people really need to think about. So if you're listening right now and you think, well, I've already taken care of my estate planning, I already have a will. Well, have things changed in your life since you wrote that will? Maybe you've got kids who have gotten married, or you've got kids who've gotten divorced. Maybe you've gotten divorced. Maybe your financial situation has changed and you want to direct that money or those items in a different way. Those are all really important things. And I think people sort of forget about it because you get a will and then you just don't want to think about it anymore.
Yeah, that old saying I've heard so many times over the years, we've been thinking about it. Well, sometimes it's great to think about, but you got to execute, because if you don't, you're thinking about it doesn't do but one bit of good, because it didn't lend itself to getting any results. And whether you're young or old or anywhere in between, whether you're 18, estate planning can mean different things, but it can be the difference between transferring generational wealth. It can be the difference of just causing strife in the family and not strife. Unfortunately, I've seen it break up relationships and siblings. Again, the greed factor in human beings is very high. And this is a statement I've heard over the years many times. Oh, our kids would never fight.
Right.
Or our family never has any problems.
Right.
I hope no families have any problems. But then why have I heard hundreds and hundreds of families that had problems, even though they said there wouldn't be any? See, when you're not here or you're not able to speak, and somebody is able to speak for you, even though you're not able, that doesn't always go the way people want it to. I don't care how great of kids you have or how great of families.
Right.
We want to do the best to dot our I's and cross the T's and control what you can control. And that is as much as we put into the estate planning documents.
It feels like to me, Larry, at this time of year when we are giving, this is one of the great gifts that we can give our heirs, our loved ones, just to make sure that everything is taken care of, that no more stress and no more issues come upon them if in fact, this time comes.
You summed it up very well. I tell folks, when you get it done, and I'm hoping you do, time is of the essence. None of us are getting younger. In fact, we're all getting older, I've been told, but we'll try not to ponder that too much.
Well, not you and me, but everybody else.
Of course. Yeah. There always seems to be a breath of fresh air, a smile on the face. Once they've executed these documents, notarized, done all the things they're supposed to do, a smile on, we finally got something done. We've been saying we're going to get done for a long time. Yeah. There's a sense of satisfaction. I can tell you some of the kids of our clients are actually pressing mom and dad, get something done, would you? Yeah. And the kids have got it done, but their retired parents haven't got it done. So if there's kids listening and your parents don't have it done, you do it as much for each other if you're married as you do the family. You don't want those headaches that mom and dad are hoping are not headaches. You want them to dot their I's and cross the T's as much as you need to get your own stuff done.
Absolutely. 612-504-8400. 612-504-8400. That's the number. Call that number. Tell them you heard Larry and me here on the radio and that you'd like to come in to Haven Financial Group for a consultation. Talk about estate planning, tax planning. Let's talk about your retirement and what it is that you want. If you've got a portfolio and you need someone to look over it, they are there. If you don't have one, they're there for that as well. Get a partner and make these years the best of your life. Larry, thank you so much. Lots of education today.
Yeah, lots. I hope everybody now had a wonderful Thanksgiving, enjoyed family, and now the hustle and bustle of the holidays, the Christmas season, New Year's. I hope everybody takes a step back and takes a big breather and enjoys their family. And don't get all caught up in it. Have fun with it. But remember the reason for the season. Again, 612-504-8400. Kim, we'll see you next week.